Welcome, Christ Greenfield family. Tim here with not Jake, but Jack Kalleberg.
How's it going?
Veteran. Thank you for your service, brother. We are in the midst of a wild time. I had a handful of kind of interesting responses to the message yesterday. For the most part, it's like, well, it's in the Bible, so thanks for bringing the word. But some of it was, let's talk about where we're at. I mean, Saturday night, I watched Biden's president-elect from the AP. His acceptance speech, and for the most part, I mean, honestly, there were some things that were very unique about that acceptance speech. Recognizing the LGBTQ in an acceptance speech to recognize that community, that was a first. But a message of hope and healing, just like you'd expect president-elect from the AP Biden to bring. But it's not over just yet. This is a very unique thing. The AP has never missed, per se, when they call it. So that's why I felt like super comfortable actually recognizing what just happened the night before. But there's still a shot. You even said 10% or so, Jack. And you've been following this as a statistician, data geek, no offense, right? You've been following this very, very closely. Yeah. And you're very, very even in terms of how you've been trying to be. Reasonable, right? I think as Christians we should be reasonable. So what are your thoughts about where we stand right now?
I would say that the AP is correct in saying that Biden is probably going to win the presidency. I think that there's probably maybe as much of a 10% chance that some of the states that are being contested could be flipped, and that could have an outcome on the election, and it could throw it in a different direction. So, 90% is a strong percentage, but it's not a percentage that I personally would say I'm calling the election. This is who the winner is. I would say this is the direction that the election is going in, and some of these recounts and court cases, if they maintain the status quo, then of course that's what the election happens.
So my prayer, number one, is the Lord's will be done. He is over this entire election. And another thing that I love about being a citizen, not just of the kingdom of heaven, but the left, the kingdom of this United States of America, being a citizen here, what I love is our peaceful transfer of power. No matter what. So for us as Christians, this is what we must, whether you're Republican or Democrat, this is what we must pray for once everything's like fully vetted, figured out, is that there is a peaceful transfer.
And I would expect that. I expect that to be the case 100%. No matter who wins. If Biden is certified as the winner, I absolutely 100% believe that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. Maybe a little bit of name calling, but it'll be a peaceful transfer of call. The people that work in the government. I'll talk about my experience in the military. We swore an oath to protect the Constitution. We don't swear an oath to an individual or to a party. And that's true for everybody serving in government. When they think about their job is to follow the law. And the law will determine ultimately who the president is based on a legal process. So you follow a legal process, a person is declared, and the people who are responsible for enforcing the law enforce the law. And that should be a peaceful process.
Yeah, that's good. What are your thoughts about, a lot of people say, though, that the American system, the American experiment, the democratic process, it's kind of like unraveling right in front of us. There's a lot of folks who are really, really driven by fear, that we're losing something right now. Could you speak to that a little bit, Jack?
Well, you're hearing a lot of news stories about irregularities in some states. I'll tell you, I've spoke to a friend of mine who works for Arizona elections, and I came out of that conversation feeling like Arizona has a fantastic election system, and whoever ends up being the winner, Arizona's got this crazy thing where the margins are narrowing, and Fox way back they called it for Trump. Or not Trump, for Biden. Right. And then nobody else was calling it, and it's still in most cases not called yet. I think that's correct to not call it because of how it's breaking. But just talking to him and hearing his own testimony made me feel like there's a lot of integrity in the Arizona election process. But then you hear a lot of stories reported about some of the Rust Belt states, and you say, okay, maybe there's something going on there. It would be good to have transparency on it. We would love to have these things fixed in the future. But what if it does reveal that there's something that's going on? How do people feel about that? How do people respond about that? I think people, they want to know that it's a fair, legal, honest process, and whoever wins. And I want to pray for whoever wins.
That's right.
And I want to know that it was just a fair, honest process, right?
That's right.
I think that's what everybody wants.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And what was so shocking to me as we walked through 1 Peter yesterday, 2, verse 17, is when he goes through that list, right, of honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, and then this crazy statement in the midst of Nero's leadership as the emperor, honor the emperor.
Yeah.
So the big
and a lot of these emperors did not get into power following an honest process.
No, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Exactly. So President-elect from the AP, Biden, and current President Trump,
right,
they're not Nero.
That's right.
Not even close.
Not even close. Not even close. Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for you, Christian, to find your solid foundation in Jesus, who he says you are, to engage the process like Jack is doing, but at the end of the day, not live with chronic anxiety and fear. Recognize, honestly, the media in America is set about making you feel fearful.
That is true.
They are selling fear.
That is true.
This is how they make a...
It's the currency. So the currency is both fear and anger.
Right.
Right? It's both, how can I get you outraged, and how can I make you feel anxious about the future? And I think, actually, to be fair, you see it on both sides, on the left and the right, in great abundance. It's sort of a game of who can make you feel more outraged. And actually, I was listening to somebody speaking earlier this morning that this race has been about trying to get people angry at Trump and trying to get people angry about the left. And whoever can get the most outrage, that's ultimately how an election is gonna be won. And I don't want to, ideally, that's not the reason that people are voting for. It's like they want to aspire to do something good, not to be hating on somebody, right? Or some group of people.
Sorry about the noise. That was a fly. That's been very, very pesky.
Yeah.
Like this political process. It was a fly. It's been very, very pesky. Thank you for serving in our military and for recognizing veterans yesterday. That was a little bit different, but hopefully, man, at 7:30, for those of you who weren't at the Gilbert campus at 7:30, it was a third of about 100 people at that service who stood up to be recognized. It was unbelievable. So say a little bit about Veterans Day and how that's really, it's coming up this upcoming Wednesday, right?
Yeah, we got Veterans Day coming up. Make sure to thank a veteran for their service if you know any. Those of you know me, I'm a veteran. I'm retired U.S. Army. After 22 years, I was a retired staff sergeant. So one of the things I love is to help lead the Veterans Recognition Ceremony here at Gilbert.
The Navy!
I get up there and make the big announcements. Actually, what we're doing at what we do is actually, so this is like a little bit about my backstory.
Tell it.
I was a retired musician with the U.S. Army Band. I played the drums. I did that for 22 years. And so we did concerts, and it was, we're trying to be very patriotic. And so we would have every single kind of concert we would do a veterans recognition. We'd do the medley, and we'd ask people to stand up. And so actually we kind of just modeled, we were trying to think about what could we do to recognize veterans. We do a similar thing now, just doing the medley, having the flags out. Usually we'd have a little bit more pageantry, but we toned down this time and just focused on the medley and honoring the people as they stand. And of course, one thing that we can't do right now is recognize the Space Force. This is crazy.
Talk about the Space Force.
We got a new branch of the service
called the Space Force.
Called the Space Force. And I asked, is there any veterans of the Space Force? If anybody's a veteran of the Space Force or family members, please stand up. And we actually had one person.
Trey Cox
stood up.
Trey, you're everywhere.
I know. And I guess he said he had a nephew serving in the Space Force. So yeah, he's got connections everywhere. But here's the crazy thing. So we're going to do this in the future. We'll get a flag for them. We'll include them in the big procession with the flags. I don't think they have a song yet. Right. I was thinking about having us play the Star Trek theme for their song.
Because their flag looks like
looks just like the symbol for Star Trek. Google it and look at their flag. It's crazy. Yeah.
No doubt. All right, let's transition to this upcoming Sunday. We have a huge celebration in store. First off, we are reigniting. Some people have misunderstood what Ramsey Plus is. You just want us all to take FPU. That is a little bit of the big picture, but talk more about what Ramsey Plus is and how folks can get engaged there.
Yeah, so Ramsey Plus is actually a subscription service. You can go if you
like
were
Disney Plus, right? I mean, that's
if you were inclined, you could go and you could sign up for Ramsey Plus on your own, and it costs I think $130 a year. It renew every year, and it gets you a whole sort of suite of things that you can use to tackle to address the finances in your life.
Right.
And so we did talk about FPU. FPU is probably one of the most powerful things that it offers. You can, under the Ramsey Plus subscription, you can go to any in-person FPU class that we host for free.
Unbelievable.
Under that subscription. Or you can do the class digitally on your own. You could do it digitally as a group. You could do it digitally on our own. We are considering in our small group actually going through FPU just as kind of even like, sometimes groups do Bible studies. It's kind of like this, our study time would be going through FPU as a group. Some of us have already done it. Some of us are kind of brand new to it. And so we think it's good to even do it where some of us can talk about our experiences doing it and encourage others that are brand new, get a tune-up, just like you said. So that's a piece of it, but that's not the only thing. There's actually other curriculum in there that's really, really cool. So
talk about every dollar, the every dollar.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the classes, and I'll talk about every dollar.
You do what you do.
Yeah. So there's if you are a veteran to FPU, let's say you've been blessed by that class, they actually also include in Ramsey Plus the Legacy Journey class. So this is for people, they've walked through the baby steps and they've gotten their house in order financially, and now they're saying, okay, what do I do to leave a legacy to the next generation? What does it mean to make statements of faith with our finances? What does it mean to bless future generations with our finances? And that's a very cool in-depth class to kind of prepare you, and I guess estate planning and legacy planning. And then if you're a family and you've got children, they've got a wonderful curriculum in there called Smart Money, Smart Kids. And so it is a curriculum to help parents teach biblical stewardship to their children, how to handle money so that when they're getting ready to go to college, they're not racking up tons and tons and tons of debt, student debt, credit card debt. You want to give kids the best chance moving forward to make the best, first steps in life when they get independence. And so the curriculum can deal with young kids. It can deal with junior high age kids, teenagers. It's kind of customized based on the kind of kids you have in the home.
So good.
And that can be done kind of even like a small group Bible study format. And then Ramsey Plus. I know we got this fly in here.
Fly is annoying. Anyway,
and then we got Ramsey Plus, like you wanted to talk about. So Ramsey, the Every Dollar app. So the Every Dollar is an app produced by Dave Ramsey. There's other budgeting apps out there. I've been using Mint for a long time. But Every Dollar is interesting in that they help you build a budget kind of around the baby steps system, right? Every dollar, they call it Every Dollar because every single dollar should have a name. You plan to earn money and then you plan to spend money. And they really put the emphasis on biblical stewardship, which is giving first, right? Investing or saving next, and then spending intentionally with a plan, and helping you and your spouse come together and intentionally build that plan together and to track every dollar. Now, the hard part with a lot of budget apps is it's a lot of data entry. Like I go when I spend or write a check, I've got to do the data entry. The cool thing with the premium Every Dollar is that if you hit the premium version that comes with Ramsey Plus, which you can have, is that it automatically syncs with your bank account. And it radically reduces the amount of data entry that you need to do to kind of be up to date and track your expenses and know whether you're working properly on your budget.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. So yes, you need to go to christgreenfield.church, I think /Ramsey.
Ramsey, yep.
And you can have for free $130 value.
Paid for by Christ Greenfield for your benefit. Not just for you, but any friends, like any guests of Christ Greenfield can get access to that. Anybody who's a member of our school gets access to that as well.
Right. We talk a lot about a book called Procrastinate on Purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And how you have this top of funnel. I'm not going to go super deep into it right now, but you could make an investment right up front. It talks about eliminating and then automating and then delegating. This is an opportunity for you as a leader in the public square or in the church, you to automate a lot of your financial future.
Absolutely.
There's so much that's there that with a little bit of time right up front could have an exponential impact.
It's an investment up front, and it's especially good to do together with your spouse to kind of set up a budget. But then when you kind of program in all the talking to the bank and stuff and spending the amount of time that it needs to get it set up, it pays a dividend to have that type of transparency in your own finances.
Amen. So speaking of transparency, we have strived to be as transparent as possible about where we are financially as a church. As you're getting your financial house in order as a family, so does your church family as well. So what are we celebrating in addition to Ramsey Plus this upcoming Sunday, Jack?
This Sunday, we are doing a mortgage burning ceremony.
It sounds like something you shouldn't do at church. Like
I know.
Burn
we're going to burn. We're going to burn. We're going to burn our mortgage. Now, caveat, Christ Greenfield has two mortgages.
Right.
We have loan A, loan B. And what we're doing is we are burning loan B. So here's an interesting story about the debt for Christ Greenfield. And Tim, this sort of a big story that kind of sort of stood over even your process to be called here, right? Talking about what does it look like for Christ Greenfield to have a future with such a large debt.
Frankly, I was so young, I didn't really know what it meant. Right? I was just like, this sounds fun. These are fun people. We'll see what God wants to do. But it is a big hurdle.
Yeah. So here's kind of the difficult story of Christ Greenfield. This is transparency, right? So going back to 2009, Christ Greenfield finished construction on a large construction project here at Gilbert. Dramatically expanded the school, the preschool, the sanctuary, added a lot of square footage to the campus, and we tripled our debt. We went to, around $3 million up to $10.7 million when we closed. And unfortunately, it was not underwritten well in terms of what actually could be achieved, what could be sustained in the amount of debt. And the market was really bad. We hit a really bad recession at that time. So the sad part of Christ Greenfield's story is we closed on that loan and immediately went into default on that loan.
You know it's a bad loan when that happens.
Yeah, immediately went into default. And so many years of working through the history of Christ Greenfield since 2009 was trying to figure out how do we deal with this situation. And of course you can imagine every voters meeting, this issue talks, what about the debt, right? And it's, well, we'll figure it out. God has a plan for us, right? And that sort of cloud existed over transitions in leadership, several senior pastors and interim senior pastors, and you coming in. And then finally, about 4 years ago, working with LCEF, we were able to put together a plan.
That was our lender. Lutheran Church Extension Fund is our lender. Yeah.
We were able to put together a plan. And the plan was we would split the loan into two pieces. There is loan A, which we had agreed that a church with our level of giving should be able to sustain making normal payments on loan A. And then loan B was the amount that was extra. And we agreed we're going to work together as partners to try and eliminate this loan as fast as possible. Right. So we were going to do a lot of fundraising, and they were going to match actually quite a bit of dollars to bring the balance of that down really quick over 4 years. And so that required us to make some significant payments every single year. We were doing first one fund and now capital campaign funds to raise money to do this. We've been faithfully making the payments. I'm actually happy to report last week that we cut the check for the final payment of 4 payments that we were going to do. So now, with the payments that we've made and the matching funds that they've provided, that loan is entirely gone.
Yeah, baby.
So what does it mean? The most debt that we ever had goes back to 2013. We had $11.3 million in total debt. A shockingly high balance. Now, with the elimination, splitting it apart and eliminating loan B, which we're going to burn on the 15th, our total debt balance is down to $5.7 million. We've got loan A, 5.7, that's it. And it is a very sustainable debt amount for the budget that we have.
Yeah.
And we have a vision of eliminating that debt as well, but we wanted to celebrate this milestone by burning that second loan. Yeah. And so we're really excited about that. We cut the loan in half since 2013. Half of it is gone.
Praise be to God. So thank you so much for all you have done prayers, generosity toward this vision, and now moving forward, it's being good fiscal stewards, taking care of that debt while moving ministry forward, while going on your 20 and 20 kind of initiative. We can do two things at the exact same time. So talk about now where a lot of that Loan B resources are going to be going. Many of you will be very interested in this.
Yeah, so we have been doing the Live the Journey campaign. And debt is absolutely one of the big pieces that we wanted to tackle with the campaign, but it wasn't the only thing that we wanted to do to grow ministry here. We had several other objectives.
East Mesa.
So the first is, we've talked about a vision of 20 campuses in 20 years. The first of that being East Mesa, which was now, I would say, successfully launched.
Yes.
We purchased all the equipment. We needed about $250,000 of equipment. It's amazing if you ever go there and see. They've got an entire church that basically unfolds out of a trailer. So they have all the equipment. They've got the volunteers, the staff. We're funding the operations at least for the first few years to get them financially sustainable as their own worship community. And that's just going to be the first of many. And we're learning how to repeat, we call it rinse and repeat, do this over and over again by just the learnings of what we're doing for East Mesa.
That's right.
So that is a big win, being able to launch the first of many. The next is what's going on with La Mesa, one of our missional partnerships that's under the umbrella of the Family of Ministries for Christ Greenfield. We were able to fund the launch of the La Mesa Resource Center. So those of you who are familiar with what La Mesa started off as is basically meals and worship on Tuesday nights, and that continues. But then the vision to expand that is to say, what does it look like to have a resource center that exists during the week to provide biblical counseling, housing assistance, get people connected to all of the resources that they need to do. To
resume building,
clothing, housing assistance, all of these things that might benefit the homeless, get them transition from homeless into housing, into some sort of self-sufficiency, like you said. A lot of times they have access to benefits that they don't know that they have access to. Sometimes they need legal assistance to get that. So this is a program that is up and running right now. We have funded the first year of operations. We're funding 50% of the second year of operations for it. Plus there's been a large gift that's being held and reserved for a future facility for them to operate out of in the future.
So exciting.
Yeah. Another piece, which is really cool, we'll talk about some of the smaller pieces. So we've, I don't think we should call it smaller, but it's not been huge six figures going towards it. The ULC.
Right. Unite Leadership Collective.
Unite Leadership Collective. We are funding scholarships for people to go through this first round of certification into the Kairos Master's Program. I'm one of the students that's going through that. So how many do we have now? About
we have three going through Kairos.
And then another one through...
2 are going through the Missional Training Center, MTC, here in
so
the
5
in the
total.
Valley. Yeah.
And soon more to come.
Yep.
So funding has helped that. We've also launched our first accelerator with the ULC, where we've got about a half a dozen churches coming together and learning in cohort accelerated learning what it looks like to rapidly build up leaders in the local church context, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And
we're inviting our next batch of congregations into that to start in early 2021.
And we've launched our website, and we've got a whole suite of consulting services that can be provided for churches, focusing primarily on leadership.
I like how you use sweet 2 times in the course of a 30-minute. I rarely use that word. I'm going to incorporate that. So uniteleadership.org. Uniteleadership.org is where you can hear more. So the last one that we think is like
exciting.
Really, really exciting, especially for you school families, is what?
We have a plan to build a multi-purpose gym, right in the field over here. We estimate the cost of that project is going to be $1.5 million, and I'm happy to present that we have already 20% down for that building. We've got over $300,000 reserved for this construction project. And tying back to our discussion about the debt, we are prepared to continue to fundraise until we've cash flowed the entire cost of this construction, $1.5 million. We're going to build this entire building entirely in cash with no new debt.
Yep.
That is our commitment.
Amen.
And so we're going to, pretty soon you'll see a thermometer out there. We got to raise the 1.5 for, out of the campaign. And we'll only proceed with the each process of construction as the actual money exists. So we're going to already start working on some of the permitting and maybe some of the engineering that comes up. But we'll only proceed with the phases as the money is actually received, and we'll spend the money that we have. Yep. So money in the bank before the shovel goes in the ground. That's the plan.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Tim and Jack. Jake is actually in. I think he'd be okay with me. He's in Texas right now. His dad has surgery.
Yeah.
And so pray for Mr. Bessling as he is there. We miss you, brother, and are praying for a full recovery. Jesus is good. May his hope, may his peace rest upon your heart. A better day is coming. I really believe, Jack, Jesus is coming very, very soon. And until that day comes, with the influence that he has given you as husbands and wives, as co-workers in the kingdom, use it, steward it well, for the days are short. We'll see you very, very soon. Thanks for joining us, Jack.
Take care.
You did a great job, bro.
In 2011, when we first heard about Financial Peace University, we were living a fairly normal life. A large house payment that we could barely afford, 2 big car payments in the driveway, and lots of toys. Too many toys. When we started Financial Peace University, we learned how to manage our money better and to keep our goals in synchronization with one another, and how to manage money more wisely, and also to handle money when emergencies came up and creditors were pressuring for payments.
So Jerry, we were working through the program, and then in 2013, Jerry had his stroke. I knew right away that we were going to have a lot of medical bills and not a lot of income, if any. So I panicked, and then I realized, we'd been going through Financial Peace, and we had a plan. We had a financial plan. We'd been sitting down together regularly and having budget meetings as part of Financial Peace, and so I knew we were on the same page as far as goals, and I knew that the decisions I was making at the time on my own, because he couldn't participate, would be in line with the things that we were talking about. And so I sat down and went through line by line on one of the first nights, and found the things that I could cut and the expenses I could reduce. And when I was done, I looked at it and realized, you know what, we can actually get through this crisis. We can actually make it without going further into debt. And that really gave me a lot of peace that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I had so many other things to worry about that I'm so thankful I didn't have to worry about that.
And once I got back to work after my recovery, we were able to restore our income and start paying off our debts. It's taken 6 years, maybe a little more than 6 years, to finally get the last of our debt paid off, and we were very happy that we did.
It's just an immense relief not to have to wake up in the middle of the night and wonder how we're going to make that car payment, or what happens if the car breaks down or somebody gets injured. We have a plan, and we now have some financial security. So we're really grateful that we took the Financial Peace class.
We would encourage everyone that's interested to take Financial Peace, and if we can do it, I think anybody can.